this is Lana Tabor for Spellbinders and welcome to my channel. Today I am playing with Spellbinders Hot Foil of the Month Club and I have already started here. I am going to make such a cool and involved card today and that's the reason why I actually started without any introduction, because I don't want to really waste time on that. I started off first by cutting some acetate, and I'm going to put some iridescent foil to foil this acetate. The acetate that I'm using is by Cricut, and I got this acetate at Michael's. When you are using packaged acetate, please make sure to remove that protective film from it. If you don't and you want to foil, it'll literally crinkle your acetate. So make sure to remove that protective film before foiling. And I'm just going to put this on the foiling machine. In the meantime, I'm going to cut a little piece of extra acetate to foil some of the butterflies. These butterflies are an old set from Spellbinders. I believe that this set is still available. If so, I will put the link down below that you can check out if you like these cute butterflies. And now let's take a look at my beautiful net here. It looks like it foiled beautifully. Oh wow, look how cool this looks. Now it did kind of crinkle a little bit on the sides, but that's okay. I'm not going to be using the entire panel, but look at that shine. Absolutely beautiful. And now let's see the butterflies, and these butterflies are so stunning. I am going to make a couple more and also die cut them off camera, and we are moving to the next step. Here we are going to create a galaxy background. I'm using squeezed lemonade distress oxide inks, and I am just randomly putting this yellow color directly on the paper. There's really nothing here that you have to follow, honestly. Perhaps just the way you are adding the colors, in which order, but other than that, I think you are going to be just fine. After I was done with yellow, I'm gonna move to wilted violet, and again, I am simply adding a little bit of that purple next to the yellow and creating like a little tiny path in a sense of that purple, slightly overlapping the yellow, but not too much. Next thing to keep in mind is to dry this ink between the layers. If you're skipping this step, you're risking your colors turning muddy. And next, simply layer different color on top of it. I am next using Twisted Citron. Just wanted to add a little bit more of that glow. And again, I'm going to dry that pigment and put a little bit of that pink. This is picked raspberry, and you can see how that color simply lays on top of that ink. And that is all because I am drying my ink in between. The next color is Chipped Sapphire, and with this color I am going to start off from the edges and gently and slowly move inwards with a light hand, simply covering all those colors. You don't need a heavy hand here, please. Just gentle, very gentle cover all over the panel, And make sure to leave a little bit of that yellow to show. Don't cover that yellow completely. Now you can add more blue or less. It all depends on your preference. Just gently cover everything, and that is going to help blend the colors together. Next, I'm taking black soot, and this is where things simply click together. I am making sure that black soot is covering the edges of my panel. And I am going to, again, with a very light hand, go over the entire panel. And that is it. The inking is done. Now, what's going to make this panel look more of a galaxy is that when I add some splatters, I have some gouache here already. It is dry, but that is okay. There's no reason for you to throw it away. Just activate it with some water. And I am going to use a fan paintbrush, get my white gouache on it, and simply and gently flick that paintbrush to leave little speckles all over the card. And now you can see how this is turning into a very cool galaxy background. And now I'm going to create something very fun for my card. I'm going to create a little interactive feature by adding lights to my card. What I am doing here is just simply adding some markings to where I would like my lights to go. For this, I am using a white gel pen. The reason I'm doing this so I could see it better, but you're more than welcome to use whatever works best for you. Next, I'm going to use a little mini punch hole here, and I am simply going to punch little holes for my lights. And if you don't have a punch tool, you can also use like a little pokey tool or something similar to create your holes in the panel. Next, I am going to align my panel with the base where I am going to put the lights and the battery on, and I'm just tracing the circles onto the base. This is going to help me create a circuit for my battery. And the first step to creating this is by attaching the housing for the battery. Next, I'm going to draw a circuit where I'm going to attach the conductive tape. The first thing that I'm doing is creating the positive leg, making sure that the lines are going around those little circles. Next, I'm going to create a negative leg and just make sure that these two lines do not intercept in any kind of way. Otherwise, your circuit is not going to work. One thing that can help you is to put little plus signs on your positive leg. That is going to help you move much smoothly through the process of putting that conductive tape on. And next, I am simply going to tape that conductive tape on the path that I previously drew. And don't worry if your tape is not straight or it's not perfectly positioned on that paper. First, it's not going to be seen by anyone. And second, this tape is pretty forgiving. It doesn't matter if it's straight or not, as long as there's nothing intercepting that flow of electricity, you are going to be just fine. Now, I also wanted to mention that this kit is by We Are Memory Keepers and it's very easy to follow. I will leave the link down below for all of you who are interested in getting this awesome kit for making interactive cards. You can also find guides for how to create these circuits, and they are also free to download. So if you don't necessarily follow what I am doing here, I will make sure to leave the links for you so you know where to refer to. Next, I'm going to attach the lights, and this is really simple to do. All you have to do is remove the backing from the lights and simply attach it on the conductive tape. One thing to keep in mind is that the tip of these lights, like as you can see, it goes into like this triangle shape. So the tip is what it needs to touch the top or the positive leg, and the bottom needs to touch the negative leg. Now, if this does not happen the way you want it, or you don't have that contact, you can easily just add a piece of that conductive tape directly on top of your light, just making sure that you continue with the same circuit. Another thing to keep in mind is that you don't want the bottom part of your light to touch the positive leg. If, like you see it here, for example, if you do that, it's not going to work. You're not going to have that contact. So I just gently peeled off that conductive tape, and then I carefully attached the light. Next, I added housing for the battery. Yes, you do need this. A battery doesn't move, and don't worry about this. Everything that you need will come in this kit. Next, I'm going to just put the battery into the housing, close the flap, and press. Gotta make sure that these lights are lit, and as you can see, the experiment worked. And now we're going to move into creating the front of the card. So one thing that I just realized that is missing in my video is the actual panel of the card and how I created that. Unfortunately, my camera did not record that part, but I decided to create something real quick and show you the process of how I created that panel. This is the exact same thing that I did when I created my card. I just want to show you the basic technique. What is it that I used? Because I didn't want to leave that part out, because I believe that everybody would like to know how I actually created that. So this is how. Grab yourself a piece of paper. This is Nina 110-pound cardstock. It is classic crest solar white and is exactly the same cardstock that I used to create my card. Now, the first thing that I did is I measured where is it that I want my opening to be on the card. Now, grab yourself an X-Acto knife and a cutting board of some sort. If you have a self-healing mat, you are more than welcome to cut directly on your mat. And the first thing what I am going to do is just simply cut through, like just like this, put some lines, literally, like there was no measuring of any kind. I just wanted to create some kind of opening. So this is pretty much what I did. Just make sure that your cutting lines are meeting in the middle. And next is, again, I'm going to do that like this. I'm going to move it this way because the paper will pull on the other side if you don't do it this way, just like that. You see how we're going to have that opening. Now, depending on the size of your paper, you're going to see how many of these lines you're going to cut. I'm going to cut here one more just for the demonstration purposes. If you are really particular, if you want your lines to be straight and exact, you can use a ruler and do it that way, but it's not necessary. Next, what you are going to need is some water. I am just going to spritz a little bit of water on each side and rub that water in. This is so I could soften up the fibers of my paper, and you can already feel how this paper is so much easier for handling. And now all you have to do is bend your paper this way, just roll it. It's going to be so much easier to now roll that paper, right? Just like this. And when your paper dries, it will keep that shape. There we go. And here is the last one. Just curl it a little bit like this. And then simply and gently roll it. And that is how I created the opening on my card. When I told you that this card is going to have a lot of dimension, I was not kidding. Now, because of the battery, you need to use a foam adhesive that is a bit thicker. This kit is definitely going to come with a foam tape that you are going to need. However, I used most all of it for my card. So yes, you might run out depending on how big of a project you have. So be aware of this. You definitely want to have extra foam tape on hand. Next, I put some liquid adhesive on top of that tape and aligned my panel carefully. This tip is especially important if you have something such as this card to line up, because that liquid adhesive gives you some wiggle room. Next, I decided to add some mica powder to my card, thinking that this is going to give me a little bit of shimmer. Now, it really didn't. You can definitely skip this part. I just thought at that moment that this could work, but it didn't. Now, if you want your panel to be shimmery, I suggest you use either shimmer paste or shimmer pen or something that's going to give you a little bit more shine. This really didn't make that much of a difference. I then used a clean cloth to wipe the excess of that mica powder. So as you can see, there really wasn't a lot of shine in there. Next, I'm going to attach my window panel on top of my galaxy. And I also wanted to mention that I added some extra foam adhesive on this one as well. And this is what I meant. There's a lot of dimension to this card. And next, we are going to move to embellishing. And if you remember from earlier, I created my butterflies by embossing on acetate, and now I want to test something. So I grabbed a piece of acetate and a piece of the same cardstock that I used to create my panel. And I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue and glue it directly on this piece of paper. This is going to help me decide if it's safe to use hot glue on my butterflies. In some cases, hot glue does not work with acetate. On occasion, it just slides off of that glue, and here we go. You can see that this is going to be a success. So whenever you have something that you want to test, just use a piece of cardstock and do it on the side and perform a little test. See how it's going to work. That way you don't get to damage your project. Now all that I'm doing is putting some hot glue directly on my butterflies and gluing it to my card. And I use hot glue for several reasons here. First, it's fast, it dries fast, and I know that it's a very strong adhesive. So my butterflies are not going to go anywhere. Now, I do have to admit that hot glue put a little dent in my acetate, but I guess that is normal. So keep this in mind if you are going to use the same technique. And lastly, I'm going to do the same with my sentiment. And that is it. The front of my card is done and it looks absolutely fabulous. And you can definitely see the stars shining. I love how this looks. And now let's put it on the card base and wrap this project up. I really didn't want to keep you here much longer. And all I did off camera is attach the card to the black cardstock and then everything on the card base. Again, I used Nina Classic Crafts Solar White 110-pound cardstock for my card base, and that is it. Yes, this card is truly made with a lot of love, and it is pretty involved, but it is totally worth it, I have to admit, and I am so glad I made it. And I hope this encourages you as well as inspires you to do something similar. I would like to take this chance to send one huge, enormous thank you to Spellbinders for sending me such cool stuff to play with every single month. And please, would you click on my affiliate links that are down below? You don't have to purchase anything. Just by clicking on them will make a huge impact on my channel. And again, thank you for being here, supporting me. And if you have a question regarding this video or have a suggestion for what you would like to see me create in the future, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you again, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye-bye.